This is probably a 3/4 inch flat. I'm going to use that. And the colors that you do as your placeholders do not always have to be the same as what your background colors are. So I'm going to go with a deeper red in this one. And on that other one, I think I'm going to use purple, my fave. And you can do this same exact thing. Just try not to put too much. Of course, I'm sure I am. I have a misting bottle because this other paint's almost dry. I'm going to mist that for just a second. It may make a difference and help, it may not, but let me just show you with a palette knife. Here's just a cheap plastic one. This one's plastic too. I'm going to use this one for the bigger flowers. When you're using a palette knife like this, I mean, I'm like gung-ho, just want to get in there kind of gal, but that's not the smartest thing with a palette knife. You really need to be gentle and barely drag it and barely touch it to the canvas, and as Bob Ross would say, the canvas will take off what it wants. So I do want to get this base filled in, and I'm going to do it with a brush probably, but I want to see what I can get off of here. Going too hard again. This one had, the brush had the red on it. We don't care. Hold your brush farther down on the tip if you want it to be looser. We're not wanting this to be tight and perfect. Light over there, and then we're going to try to drag some of our dark back over here. And this base is going to have, you know, harder edges than the flowers will. And it doesn't matter to switch back and forth between your brush and your palette knife. Just do whatever feels good. We're not worried about that edge right there that's still showing some white, because we're going to have highlights over there in a minute anyway. So we're going to let this dry. I'm going to go, well, let's pick out a color for that other wall. Let's just do it. Let's go with orange. We'll go orange and yellow. And let's do that with a palette knife too. Grabbed a big one here. It's one of my favorites. scrub it in with your palette knives. You can lay it down flat and move it this way. All of those are going to give different looks. The scrubbing blends it more, and the going over it just moves it more. So there we are. We have a yellow wall there. And let's just wipe what's left right there, because why not? Okay, it's dry now, and I have this paper plate I told you about earlier that has some paint left on it that my little granddaughter Jessalyn was using, so we're gonna use some of this, what's usable of it. I love to use what's left of my palette. Just grab it. I washed my brushes and my palette knives, so we are now just gonna put some of this in. When you're looking at the faces of your flowers, you don't want them all looking straight at you. So we're gonna put, see how round this is? We're gonna put the little flower face right here. This one's right dead center staring at us. That's our focal flower. We'll let this one be looking this direction. Some of them will be looking up and over. Just let them have their own little personalities, whatever they want to do. And I'm putting a whole blob of paint on there. We'll smear some of this in later if we need to. Let that one look right at us. We're just using up some paint that we had already. Let this one go here. And we have some of this cream color. That's not usually a color I would use right in there, but let's see what we can do and use some of it. That's a good idea. I'm going to mix this with some of the red that I had right there and make myself a pink shade. Just making like little apostrophes. You can grab a little more red, make this a little deeper still, grab a little water. As I'm going through these centers now, I'm just picking up just a tad of that center red, kind of go around there. Only in the center. Apostrophes on each side. There we go. A little bit of that darker somewhere. I'm going to go ahead and use another 1-inch brush. I'm going to wet it, and this is Payne's Gray. I'm going to see if I can save any of that there. Grab this 1-inch Art Basics. I'm going to now mix this half and half with some of the orange. Just gonna take right out of the middle of it, pull it here to the side and come out with a lighter, more yellowy orange. Very pretty. I'm gonna move some of the pink over into the orange or over into the yellow. Let me do it that way. Ooh, that's pretty, pretty, pretty. I'm messing them up a little bit around the edges so that they're not too straight. Now I'm going to try to go right into just the pink. Just looking at where my little leaves are as I'm going along, to remember where the bottoms are, so I don't have to stop and think about that every time. If you needed all this to be perfect, you would just use a smaller brush. Oh, I like it. Now let's go back to this one. These are heavy body paints too. It's just that the impasto paintings are much thicker. When I add the titanium white to this, it's going to take away some of that transparency and make it a little more opaque. You could do that now if you wanted to do that now, but I want some of the deep in on the bottom first. This is the one I'm now stressing about because this is the one that's for Lavon that she needs to base her piece of furniture on. So what I'm gonna do now is go ahead and put the leaves in. I'm gonna go with Blick Chromium Oxide Green. It's one of my very favorite greens. And I'm putting out a pretty good bit of it because I'm gonna do most of the leaves now. And then I'm going to put just a tad of yellow out beside it. Same yellow as earlier. And I'm going to put just a tad of white in front of both of them so that I can have paints for highlighting. bit of the green and mix in with the yellow. And I'm going to mix about half of the white in with that light green, yellow green. You are absolutely, in my opinion, I'm not, going for perfection in this. We are going for a bunch of colors being in there and it looking happy. That's the whole ordeal here. Just a happy little painting, as Bob Ross would say. Grab a little more water. There's a lot of paint in this brush, so try to bring it a little back down to the tips. Heavier here, because that's up in the sunlight. Less there because it's darker. Less here because it's darker. Less here because it's darker. I like it. I'll tell you what we're going to do is use a bigger brush and go around those edges, just scrubbing what I can off of here at this point. And I think we're pretty close to done on that one. I think I'll use the same Payne's Gray. I'll just squirt me some more and go ahead and frame it up. with this same color, I'm wetting my brush. And I'm gonna try to get this pretty wet. Just adding water and adding water. And this is a round brush. A liner brush would probably be better, but this is supposed to be bulky, sort of. I really want this to have just a tad of the bright pink, even though it's kind of muted. I know my big old head keeps getting in the way. It's still just not exactly what I want it to be. I'm gonna let this dry a minute, and what I feel that it needs now is like a liner brush, a very thin liner brush, gone around some of the details in the flowers. And we're done. I went over them just a little bit with a white gel pen just to highlight things just a tad, signed them, and we're done. So here's the one that's going to Levon. The purple one. The cray cray one. And I appreciate you joining me. Make sure and subscribe if you haven't. Click the little bell to be notified. We have 2 videos a week, every Tuesday and Thursday. I look forward to spending time with you again, and make sure and let me know where you're watching from. I love to hear from you. Bye.